Call the meeting to order. Join us in the pledge.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Uh-oh. Should I bring him with me? He needs here. Let me put my glasses. This isn't an air-conditioned library.
Well, the next man's not pointed this way.
Because I don't like the fan.
Budget season's coming though, well, we can do that.
Tuesday and frost.
Oh, brother.
It needs to be dusted. It's not that great. You're gonna get start sneezing.
How's everybody tonight? All right?
These are all done with over, Mr.
Sir.
Jersey, and
Yes, sir.
up to snuff.
Yes, sir.
So you already got the two things on the agenda, first two things done, right?
Ralph, do you want to look at these lists of Steve signing?
Certainly do. And somewhere along the line, this is gonna, which one do I correspond most? Or is this just going in my packet?
That's your copy.
What's that?
Maybe I should ask you. I won't bother you. This, in this packet here,
Mhm.
are there cross references that I'm supposed to check as I go on?
No, this is separate.
So if everybody else signs it, they
You good?
off like a herd of turtles, I'd say.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody here for your show of support and sympathy and all that stuff. Appreciate the flowers. It's been very nice seeing everybody care like that.
I guess I'm gonna, just for the record, we, sent a, fruit basket to one of the board members, and it was past practice that it would go through the SAU, but I'm handing the check over to the school district for the reimburse of that, so. What was, do you have a comment?
I said I didn't feel like a fruit basket, is what I said. Sorry about that. I'll sign on these without the red tags, right?
Well, Andrew usually puts the red tag on. Well, yeah.
I don't know about you, but I could go for a bucket of sand. Almost dry enough for me. Oh, sorry, Steve.
Not another one.
That's what we
I don't know that.
Bucket of sand. What is Demco, Angel?
It's school supplies,
School supply?
yeah. Paper labels, easels, those type of things.
How about Light Speed Technologies?
Light,
Light Speed Technologies.
microphones, power supply.
Music?
Would you like me to speak to that?
Yeah, can you?
Yeah, it's audio systems for, typically for students with hearing impairments. So there's a special ed purchase. There are some extra parts that need to be replaced for the systems. Sure.
What's the SJD van and truck?
That was the company that installed the GPS systems in the school buses.
So they've all been installed,
Yes.
all
Yeah.
15 of them?
Yeah.
And that's part of that, the transwinder?
That's part of the finder software that we purchased.
Everybody all set with the manifest? We have a motion to approve the manifest?
I make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Minutes of the last meeting.
I make a motion to approve the public and non-public minutes of 8/21/13 meeting.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment. Seeing none, correspondence. Board secretary, letter of interest.
I can speak to that, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Jersey.
In your packet, you'll see there's a letter from Ms. Banks regarding her interest in being the Wakefield School Board Secretary. You'll also see in your letter that she's requesting $14 an hour, and it'll be up to the board as to what you would like to do at this point.
I'll make a motion to hire Brandy Banks as the Wakefield School Board Secretary at $14 an hour.
I'll second that.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Banks.
Thank you.
And I
Good
will-
job on the last minutes, by the way.
I'm opposed. Opposed,
Because of the monetary value, or
yes.
talking about what we budgeted? Is that,
Right.
I think Steve's
Yeah.
talking about the amount that was budgeted, and
Right.
that's the only concern you had?
Yeah, just going over the budget. I don't like to
Should that have been
go
in
over the
the
budget. Excuse me, Mr. Chris?
I said, I asked him
Ask a
if
question.
that should have been in non-public. Because it
No,
was...
sir.
All right. New business.
I only have one item, Mr. Chair, under new business. I was speaking with Mr. Gregoire, and Mr. Gregoire can speak to this as well this evening, is that he's requesting an additional 10 hours for his part-time secretary position to help out with the beginning of the year registrations. That cost to the district for 10 hours for the current part-time secretary, additional 10 hours for the current part-time secretary would cost the district $250. Mr. Gregoire is requesting for those additional hours for help in the office, and he can speak to that if necessary.
$250
Would be
for
to add another 10 hours
per week.
for the next couple weeks, just a total of 10 hours.
Just trying to
Additional
catch up
hours.
on registrations, right now, that we're just a bit, inundated with all the extra paperwork and getting the emergency paperwork put into the Power School system. It's a lot of work, and Sandra could use a little extra help.
The money in the budget for it?
Would be over budget on that line, but we'll have to make it up on another, being a bottom line budget, make it up on the other end. Make sure we took that 250 out of somewhere else and make sure it balances.
How are we doing down at Spalding?
I was gonna bring that up under my update, if you'd like
All right.
for me to.
Good. All right.
I would make a motion to allow the secretary to work an extra 10 hours for a total of $250, with you knowing that it has to be taken from the budget in another location.
Correct.
Oh,
It's 20 hours.
sorry, Mr. Chair. It's the 250 comes out to 20 hours, additional 20 hours.
So 10 hours each week. 10
Correct.
hours this week, 10 hours
Or-
next week. Okay, so I will edit my motion for 10 hours, 2 weeks for $250, knowing that it has to come out of the budget in a different area.
Correct.
So 250 is total.
Total, correct.
$12.50.
So asking for an additional $250 to go towards the part-time secretary's hourly wage.
Do you see this as a reoccurring event?
No, we've got a brand new secretary, assistant secretary, and, Sandra's taken some time to train her also, but also trying to stay on top of the registration. We've had a lot of registrations late in the year, and we need to transpose that information on paper into Power School, and that takes a considerable amount of time. So to answer your question, no, I don't expect it to be a recurrent issue. I think at times, when we have bigger things that are happening in the school, we may need assistance or extra time, but not like this.
Any more discussion?
Want to get a second for a motion?
No.
I'll second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Administration, financial reports. And,
You got an expense report in your packet. And I basically all showing you what we spent year to date. It's not showing any encumbrances on what's left in the budget because we're still cleaning up payroll, getting payroll set up with We have people that are being charged to the general fund that are grant related because we haven't gotten the grant approved yet. So I didn't want to put the encumbrances and the what's left over because they're not correct. So I just want to show you where we're at year to date in expenditures. Next month we'll have a clean expenditure showing the encumbrances and the under budget. Any questions on that? It's basically just for information right now. It's kind of hard to, this early in the year, to know where we really stand. We'll be more
Right.
accurate next time. And you can see even the revenue report is very low on it because the state's usually a couple months behind in sending us checks, so it hasn't been
Right.
booked yet.
Anybody have any questions for Andrew?
I apologize that we don't have the June general account reconciliation. The treasurer's still working on it. She was out on vacation. She was sick for a few weeks, so she hasn't had a chance to finalize. So hopefully at the next business meeting, we'll have a up-to-date bank reconciliation. Any other questions?
Superintendent's update.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a few items. The first item I want to speak to is I want to thank Mr. Gregoire and Mr. Byrne and his entire staff for a very smooth start to the beginning of the school year. I had an excellent experience the first day of school. I was able to come through twice on that day, once during the right after dismissal. Right after the students arrived. Came in, I'd say probably around 10 o'clock and was able to walk through some classrooms, was able to attend an assembly. It was very well run, very smooth, and I also had an opportunity to come back later in the day at dismissal time to see how dismissal goes on the first day and to meet some parents as they were waiting for their students. I was very impressed as my first time seeing the first day of school at the Paul School, and I'd want to thank again Mr. Gregoire and Mr. Byrne and his entire staff for really an impressive start to the school year. And I've been back a couple times since, and again, it's a great school to be in, so I wanted to mention that. The second item I have is an update on the high school residency. Actually, Mr. DiAgostino and myself are meeting with Superintendent Hopkins and their business administrator on Monday just to solidify the process for making sure that the students that are enrolled, that are Wakefield students, are also residents of Wakefield. I do have an update on what we currently have for enrollment numbers, but we will solidify these numbers. So these are preliminary numbers that I'm gonna speak to this evening. Right now, we have 171 students that are enrolled at Spalding, according to the enrollment numbers. I want to mention that this is not the billing number, but this is what we had coming out of guidance for enrolled students. So we're going to clarify the number of students that we're actually going to be billed for. So it could be different than the 171, but again, these are preliminary numbers. So right now, we have the 171, and we have received 27 residency forms out of that 171 students that are enrolled.
Do we have someone down there? Oop.
I'm going to ask a question because as a parent with 2 high school students, they did not come home the first week of school. The Wakefield residency forms did not come home with my child.
Okay.
So I find that disheartening considered how strongly we said we wanted that in place, and it hasn't happened. And I got it hand delivered by someone, and I said, well, how are they supposed to get on? And they said that they're supposed to go to the website and download it. And that's well and fine, but if that's not told to the students and told to the parents, we don't know to do it.
Who gave you that information? Was it the information that came from the high school?
No, actually, I saw Deb Wilson last night, and she said, did you get these? And I said, no, I didn't. And because I asked her, I said, how are the residency forms doing? I said, I didn't receive any. And, you know, everyone knows on the first day of school, the parent is the one with the most homework, you know, because we have all the papers to fill out. And I was a little surprised that they weren't included in the packets to come home with the high school kids.
Okay, so, sorry, may I ask a question? So in the past, who would be the one responsible for putting those forms into the first day of school packets?
Someone would bring them down to the high school and say, when you put out your forms, you know, when you give out your student information forms, they know in their homeroom who's a Wakefield student and who's not a Wakefield student. So in the homerooms, when all the other paperwork, the emergency cards and all of that is handed out, I would assume, and I hate to assume, but I would think that that would be the time where Wakefield students would get that piece of paper too.
Okay. So, and I apologize, I wasn't familiar with how that process worked.
Well, if the kids don't have the information to take home, how are they gonna fill it out and return it?
I understand. I just didn't know what that process was, that they were sent home by the high school, the residency forms.
Either that or we should be sending them before school starts. Either the SAU should be either Wakefield should be sending them in confirmation that you are starting school, you know, August 28th. If you plan to start school August 28th, have your paperwork back. And send a self-addressed stamped envelope or something, because it's just, we're gonna,
We need someone down there.
And we have our social worker that will be going down there, and we're confirming the actual list of students at this point, so she can go and make sure that those students are receiving their residency form. I was unaware of that they go home, so we'll make sure that that gets in their hands sooner than later to go home with the students,
But not only receiving them, but
getting them back.
getting them back.
When, excuse me, when my kids were in Paul School and they went to the Spalding, the Paul School gave them the residency forms and they actually had to bring them back to Paul School and turn them in. Spalding didn't really have anything to do with it. Paul School sent them out, we filled them out, we brought them back to the school, or we mailed them back. We dealt with Paul School direct, not Spalding.
really?
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that like my 8th grade son didn't go to school here.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't receive paperwork, so it was sent to us. But it was sent home in the first day of school packet, but it wasn't this year. So I don't know what we have to do to make this more transitional. I don't know if maybe we can use, they sent home a yellow form, and it said, address you reside at, mailing address, or physical address, mailing address. Maybe we can incorporate that form and take copies of that to confirm the list, and then from that list, we have the mailing and the physical forms to send out the forms to prove residency. I mean, there has to be a simple way to do this. There has to be a way to do it to make it successful.
For clarification, my understanding is that at prior board meetings, there was discussion that the SAU will handle all of the residency issues for high school. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So it'll be our responsibility to make sure that those residency forms are in the hands of all of the students, and that there is a letter stating that those need to be returned to the SAU office, because I think people are still thinking that they need to come back to the Paul School, or they're dropping them off at Spalding, so locating them can be a problem. So I'll draft a clarifying letter that will go home with the residency forms to those students.
I mean, to make it easier on people, I think it'd be fine if they dropped them off here. Could you,
I mean, there could be three
Thank you.
options. I mean, they could, pardon me,
Okay.
you could say you may drop it off in the Wakefield Paul School office. You may mail it back to the SAU at Taylor, or at whatever the address is, or you may take it into the guidance office at Spalding. Call Mrs. Picard, have her set up a folder. She's very efficient, and they could have 3 options.
Okay.
Good idea.
so we'll get this in place immediately?
Yes, sir. We will.
Thank
We
you.
will. And I'll speak to that process when Mr. DiAgostino and myself meet with the superintendent on Monday.
I think we're gonna physically need someone in the building. And going around and getting these residency forms back.
And I think that it might be, give it 5 days, 10 days. If it doesn't come back, then it's gonna be, you know, maybe our key person at Spalding going around and saying, you know, tapping a kid out or talking to, you know, having the kids called down to guidance, out of class or whatever, hand delivering it to them, saying, you know, can you please not forget to have mom and dad fill this out? We need this. And then maybe if it doesn't come back in another 5 days, that's when it gets sent home certified mail. And maybe have it all done before November 1st.
That's the goal, is to have it
Wonderful.
finalized sooner
Stay on
than
top of
later.
it.
Okay. Well, if we
And
can-
yes, sir, I will stay on top of it.
Good commanding with that, isn't it?
It's my job to stay on top of it. I've already mentioned that, so.
Anything else, Mr. Superintendent?
Yes, sir. I've also found out from the moderator that the board appoints the clerk. So the board has the responsibility of appointing a new clerk. So you're going to want to consider that at this point.
That needs to be a resident, right? Somebody in town that's, could be voted in, come voting time.
Correct.
And we'll need one prior to the election. correct?
Yes.
So I guess we need to put that out in the paper and add in the paper, or would be the best way to get, I would think, paper and,
Or if you know someone as well,
well,
you can ask.
Can we find out what the duties of the clerk is? What the responsibilities are?
I know one of the duties is take the minutes during the deliberative session of the school board
Mhm.
budget committee meetings on it. That's one.
I think they're responsible to take the ballots, order the ballots too.
The ballots?
Or count,
design
count
the
the
ballots.
Take them or count them.
Order them and hold them until election time.
Correct.
Okay.
I'll speak with the moderator in regard to a list of duties, and then we can advertise for that position, if you like.
Okay, thank you.
probably go on the website and anywhere else. Possible to get it on the peg channel, or,
Possible. It would be easier if it was already printed out, so I can hand it to the station coordinator and ask to have it put on.
Okay.
Something in print, probably the same thing we put in the paper if it was posted in the newspaper. Maybe Wakefield Bulletin Board would also put it out there.
One more thing, Mr. Chair. I've found out about just informed of the area board meeting dates with Rochester. I'd like to give you those dates this evening so you can mark your calendar. The first meeting is October 21st, 6 p.m. at the school department boardroom. Second meeting is April 21st, 6 p.m., the Spalding High School Library.
April 21st.
Yes.
find out where that other one is, but, did you bring the flies with you?
I do believe that
Oh,
the district boardroom is over in the Rochester Rec Department area,
The old high school?
the old high school.
Yes.
If you go in and down the hallway on the first floor or second floor.
Well, the new old high school, right? The one they built in
Yes.
79, 78.
Is that it?
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
All right, old business.
Mr. DiAgostino has one item under old business, I believe, regarding the bus lease.
Oh, yes. Yeah, Andrew, why is it a lease? it's a lease, but then we own it and there's no buyout. Why isn't it just a purchase versus a lease? Why is it a lease?
Because it's paid over a 5-year period. It's really like financing it to the bank, but instead of getting a bank rate, you're financing it through, they call it a lease, but it's a finance lease.
So it's actually a purchase.
Oh, yeah, we're purchasing the bus, it belongs to us, we're not leasing it.
So that's why I'm a little confused with why you're calling it a lease. Are you calling it a lease, or is the finance company calling it?
It's a finance lease to Mercedes-Benz.
Right.
So we are leasing the bus, but we own it after 5 years of payment. That's how we purchased all of the buses. Because of the price of the bus, you wouldn't have the funds in. You couldn't spread it out over a 5-year period.
Well, I get that. I just, usually a lease, you don't own it. A purchase, you own it.
I think under the terms of a lease agreement, the people that are leasing it to the school district are responsible for the maintenance and the major maintenance.
I don't believe that's correct.
The school's responsible.
Right.
Really?
There is a clause in the lease that if for any reason budgeting the money's not there, we could turn the bus back in if we had to. But this is how we financed all of the buses that we purchased for the school district. It's always been the same way in Milton as it has been in Wakefield. Instead of going to the bank and borrowing money, they do it through a lease.
How's the interest, what is the interest rate?
I don't have the information with me.
Is it better than you can get at a bank?
Yes.
It is. And that can be verified?
Yeah, well, it really would depend what bank you go to and what they're going to.
Well, right, but I
You're
mean,
talking
through
about-
this Mercedes-Benz, you feel that it's cheaper to go through, get a lower interest rate through Mercedes-Benz than you would in any other financial.
Right.
Well,
Andrew, with the lease, you're saying we could stop the lease if we wanted to?
Well, anytime you sign a lease for a government entity, there's always a clause that it's contingent on funding.
so if the people, in March, if the people voted not to, there'll be a warrant article.
Yep.
If the people vote that warrant article down, then we wouldn't have the money to pay that year's payment on the lease. So if the people voted down, then we would be able to turn the bus back in. And there's no buyout at the end of it, or have to pay $1, or
It might be $1, but there's no
there's no real.
large amount of a buyout. I don't even think there's $1 buyout. It's just you're paying the 5 years and you own the bus at the end of the 5 years.
All right, and just while we're on the buses, we're gonna come up with a maintenance schedule, and we're also, I had asked before about, the needs to have 4 spare buses. So not right now, not for these 2, but I had asked before, and it was stated that we do need these 2, but for next year, I would like to see something more entailed as to the needs of why we need to have 4 spare buses. And I would also like to see a maintenance schedule done up. That last one was very difficult to understand.
I will talk to Tim about that and get that in for the next transportation meeting.
Okay, but possibly maybe get something out of Governor Wentworth, because, they seem to have,
Yeah, he was gonna work with the transportation director there. Since we're talking about buses, I wanted to let the board know that we have 2 buses we're gonna put out to bid, like we had in the past, because they're not gonna be used anymore.
which ones? 9 and 13?
I believe so, but I don't have the paperwork with me. But we usually advertise it in the paper, and we get bids, and then we come to the board, and you decide which bid you wanna go with. We had talked about in the past about scrapping them for metal, but the cost of taking the bus down there and getting it torn apart, you have to weigh the difference of what you're getting as a bid versus what it would cost to scrap it. So we look at that too when we get the bids.
Wouldn't think it would cost the district anything to let a bus go and somebody haul it down there and scrap it. I mean, it doesn't seem logical for the district to pay somebody to haul something off so they can go down and scale it up, weigh it in and take the cash for the weight.
But we found that we got more money from the bidding process than we would get in scrap.
Sure. Well,
At least the last bus we sold, I think we got $900 for it. The scrap was only going to be like a couple dollars more, and it would have cost more to transport it down there and get it scrapped than it was worth. So we just sold it to the highest bidder.
In the buses that we, excuse me, the buses that we are getting rid of, and we must know we're getting rid of them ahead of time. We're trying not to send them up for any kind of repairs.
No, unless, of course, we have to repair it to get it running to sell it. But it depends on what the repair is. If it's a costly thing, it's
I mean, a
not worth it.
safety issue, that's one,
Right.
but, if we can try to, even a few months, ahead of time, if we know we're gonna be letting a certain bus go, if we can try to, not
Well, these-
fix this,
These two buses we have, that will be the 25th of September, they have to have the bids in, so we'll be able to bring it to the board the first meeting in October to decide which bid they wanted to go with. So we'll be getting rid of the buses within the next few weeks, based on if anybody bids on them.
well,
So what's the dates we're getting rid of those buses?
We have the bid going in, they have to have their bids back to us by the 25th of September. So I will bring it to the board on the 1st of October's meeting and get your approval which bid you want to go with, and then we would,
So do we know if there's any repairs or any safety issues at all as of right now?
as of right now, there isn't, no. Usually the bid is, it's sold as is, with no recourse to the school district.
all right. I will make a motion to approve the 5-year master installment purchase agreement with Mercedes-Benz Financial Services dated August 7th, 2013 for the purchase of 2 buses and to authorize Andrew D. Agostino, the business administrator, to sign the agreement. The annual payments will be $27,025.81 with first payment due August 7th, 2013 and each year thereafter on August 7th.
So
And I was second.
is our payment already late?
No, the payment was sent out, because the board had approved it on the June 19th board meeting.
Okay, that's what I thought, okay.
This motion is basically so the lawyer can write a opinion letter to the leasing company, something new they're requiring from us.
I'll make a second.
Motion second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Is that all, you all set on the old business now, Andrew?
I am.
Very good. School board business.
Now that we have Ms. Banks as the secretary, we'll continue our meetings on Wednesday evenings and go with the proposal, if the board would like to go with the proposal for having our policy subcommittee meeting at 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock on the third Wednesday prior to the board meeting, and our transportation or facilities committee meetings on the first Wednesday of the month from 4 to 5. That was in our last packet. So we do not need to change our meeting days or times, but we also, I put the proposal together to have the subcommittee meetings the hour before those board meetings.
So when you post the meeting, you really post it for the earlier subcommittee meeting
Correct.
hour, and then in that posting, you would say, immediately following that would be our regular scheduled school board meeting. Is that how that would
It'd
be worded?
be 2 separate postings. So you have to post each subcommittee meeting separately than your full board meeting.
I make a motion to approve that
I'll second that.
And we're gonna start that the next meeting?
We could start the next meeting, which would be a policy subcommittee meeting
on the 19th.
on the 19th. So if there's specific policies that the board would like reviewed for that meeting,
That's,
please let me know.
I'm not gonna be
I
here.
know you won't be here. I think if we review the minutes of the last few meetings, we have things that have been put to the policy committee that we need to look at.
Okay,
So I can go over those, and I'll send you a copy of what we seem to have waiting. And Jerry, do you have some, I think there was some that was sent to technology, there was some that you were sent to you. Maybe we can incorporate all of those together and see what we can do about getting some taken care of. You won't be here on the 19th.
No.
That's our next scheduled
Next
board.
scheduled board meeting.
Can it be the 18th?
It could be the 18th. It is. Sorry.
Yeah, it is the
The
18th.
18th.
18th?
I'm sorry,
18th.
18th. 19th is something else.
A different day?
Yes, sir.
24 hours later.
So the 18th.
Okay, so, what do you wanna do on, the policy meeting?
Meet, and I'll just forward you everything once you get back.
Well, hopefully we'd have it beforehand.
Yeah.
yeah, the policies would be in beforehand, you just wouldn't have a vote that evening, because just would have,
Right, but.
We can send them in for first reading
Yeah.
that night. If we have them printed up and redone, we can send them in for first reading, and then the following meeting, they can be second reading. And as a policy committee, we're gonna decide if we need to do first and second reading, or if we can just do a first reading and vote on it and get it done. We had said that we were gonna look at that too. So
Right.
maybe you and I can get together this week and discuss that before you go away.
Right, but yeah, I'm just, these, committee meetings, to have the material prior to the committee meetings,
you will.
so that, you know,
Yes,
it's
sir.
difficult to get it, you know, then and then you have to decide, and
Mhm.
so if you can get it out in hand prior to, it would be appreciated.
Absolutely, and that was one of the purposes of scheduling meetings, and having a set calendar so that we know when we need to put those packets out, and so we can be consistent in getting your packet information to you.
And if at all, speaking of that, I wasn't able to attend last night's meeting. If you could, I started watching it. If I could get that information also,
Yes, sir.
that you handed out, I would appreciate it.
I haven't done the minutes yet, you'll get them this week, but not today.
Is that it, Mr. Jersey?
Yes, thank you.
Committee reports, but I don't believe there's been any committee.
I can discuss last
Oh,
night's
you
meeting.
can, I'm sorry, yes, the withdrawal.
Last night, Tuesday, September 3rd at 5 PM, the SAU withdrawal committee met here in the library. We went over the update on Milton's withdrawal. We had copies of a template given to us that we are looking at. We are confirming what districts may be interested in opening up to Wakefield students, as well as we discussed the clarification of the process with the Department of Education. At this point in time, we are looking over materials, gathering more information, and will meet again on the first Tuesday of October 1st at 5 PM here in the Paul School Library again.
What date, the first Tuesday? Comments by the public? Seeing none? I have a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32 A and B. Is that correct, Mr. Jersey?
Yes, the RSA 91A32 would cover what we need to discuss in non-public.
That's nominations and tuition requests.
I'll make the motion to go into non-public pursuant to RSA 91A3, Part 2.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Seer, aye?
Will I?
Joy, I.
Fog eye.
Brown, yes. Thank you for coming.